morning, everyone. Welcome to Ridgetop Yoga Retreat. Today is the 8th day of Mindful March classes that we're having. We hope you're enjoying the classes every day. If you're just joining in, get into a comfortable seated position, and we'll get started in a few minutes. You can be seated on a blanket or a bolster to lift your hips. And then just place your hands gently on your lap. Your palms can be facing down or facing up. And then just roll your shoulders forward and back. And lengthen your spine. And really reach out through the crown of your head. And then just bring a gentle tilt to your chin towards your chest. And gently close your eyes and just begin to focus on your breath, breathing in and out through your nose. Begin to calm your mind and relax your body. If your palms are facing up, you're receiving energy. If your palms are facing down, you're grounding. So whatever you want your practice to be today, you can have your hands either way. And if any thoughts come into your mind during practice, just let them pass and bring your focus back to your breath. And just remember, this is your practice, so do what feels right for you today. If a pose doesn't feel right, just come out of the pose and wait for the next one. Just take deep inhales in through your nose, filling your lungs up with air, and gently exhale out through your nose. Make sure you're grounding down through your sit bones and your shoulders are back and down. We're just going to take 3 deep inhales in through our nose, and we're going to exhale out through our mouth, getting rid of any stale energy from the night before. So just take a deep inhale in through your nose, and slowly exhale out through your mouth. Take another deep inhale in through your nose. And slowly exhale out through your mouth. And one more deep inhale in through your nose. And slowly exhale out through your mouth. And then just go back to your regular breath. And take a deep inhale, reach your arms up overhead, lengthening the spine. And then on the exhale, bring your hands to heart center, slight bow to your head. If you'd like to set an intention for your practice, you can do that now. And then take another deep inhale, reach your arms up overhead. And exhale, bring your hands to heart center. And we're going to get started today laying down on the mat. We'll be working on our core today. So just get into a comfortable laying position. Your legs are long out on the mat. And take a deep inhale, reach your arms up overhead for a full body stretch.
Your feet are flexed, you're pushing your heels out, you're reaching out through your fingertips, lengthening the spine, engaging your core. And then exhale, release your arms back down by your side. Inhale, reach your arms back overhead for a full body stretch, reaching out through the fingertips, pushing out through your heels. And exhale, slowly release your hands back down by your side. And one more deep inhale, reach your arms up overhead. Engaging your legs, feet are flexed, pushing out through your heels, reaching out through your fingertips. And on the exhale, bring your right knee in towards your chest and just hug that knee in, keeping your straight leg flexed, your feet are flexed. And then inhale, release your arms overhead and straighten that right leg out. On the exhale, bring your left knee in towards your chest, keeping everything engaged here. Then inhale, release your leg, reach your arms back overhead. And on the exhale, hug both knees into your chest. And you can rock from side to side, massaging the low back, maybe making circles with the knees. And then place your hands on your right knee, hugging that knee in towards your chest. Extend that left leg up towards the sky. You can point and flex your foot. And then keeping your left foot flexed, with your heel, draw a line from the sky down towards the mat. And when you get about 6 inches off the mat, just hover that leg over the mat. You're engaging your core here, and you're hugging that right knee in towards your chest. Take a few deep breaths here. Really pressing out through that heel, sending the energy down through the leg and out through the heel. Engaging your core. And then slowly lower that left leg down towards the mat. And then with your right knee, just begin to make circles, get movement into that right hip. Going clockwise. And then go in the opposite direction. And then extend your right arm out to the side and place your left hand on the outside of that right knee. Take a deep inhale, and on the exhale, just begin to bring that right knee across your body, keeping your shoulder blades flat on the mat, bringing that right foot down to the mat beside you, rolling onto that left hip, and just take a few deep breaths here, making sure the shoulder blades stay flat on the mat, and take your gaze over your right fingertips. Then slowly come back up to center. Hug your knees into your chest, rock from side to side. And then place your hands on your left knee, hugging that left knee in towards your chest, and extend the right foot up towards the sky. You can point and flex your foot. And then keeping that right foot flexed, draw a line with your heel down towards the mat. Let that right leg hover over the mat about 6 inches. And just take a few deep breaths here, keeping the leg engaged, the core's engaged, hugging your left knee in towards your chest. And then slowly lower that right leg down towards the mat. And then just make circles with that left leg, left knee. Opening up the hip, working the hip. And then we'll go in the opposite direction. And then place your right hand on the outside of your left knee. Extend your left arm out beside you. Shoulder blades are flat on the mat. Take a deep inhale and then begin to bring that left knee across your body, rolling onto that right hip, keeping your shoulder blades flat on the mat, and then just take your gaze over your left fingertips. Take a few deep breaths here. Then come back up to center. Hug your knees into your chest and rock from side to side. Now we're going to place our legs long out on the mat. And take a deep inhale, reach your arms up overhead. Your feet are flexed. Interlace your fingers and keep your pointer fingers out. Now we're just going to walk our feet to the left side of the left corner of the mat. We're going to go into crescent moon, so you can, when your feet are to the left, you can cross that right ankle over the left for more of a stretch in that right hip. And then just bring your hands to the left, to the corner of the mat. So you're going to feel the stretch up the right side of the body. And just take a few deep breaths here, feeling the stretch in that right hip. Then if your leg is crossed, release that right foot back down to the mat. Bring your legs back to center, your arms back to center. And we're just going to walk our feet to the right corner of the mat. And if you want more of a stretch, you can cross that left leg, left ankle over the right. And then just bring your arms to the right corner of the mat. You're going to feel the stretch up the left side of the body. Take a few deep breaths here. Then release your foot, bring your feet back to center, your arms back to center. And then take a deep inhale, release your hands, full body stretch. And on the exhale, hug your knees into your chest and rock from side to side. Now place your feet flat on the mat, hip distance apart. Make sure, which has to make an appearance. Make sure your knees are forward, that they don't fall out to the sides of the mat. Now we're just going to place our hands under our heads. You're not pulling on your neck, you're not pulling on your head. They're just there to steady, to protect your neck. Now we're going to go into a little bit of core work here. So we're going to just bring our left knee in and our right elbow to our left knee. A gentle movement, you're engaging your core here, and then placing your foot back down on the mat and placing your arm back down on the mat. We're going to alternate legs and arms. So you engage your core, lifting with your core, bring your left elbow to right knee, and then back down to the mat. So you're inhaling, reaching elbow to knee, and exhaling back down to the mat. So match your breath to your movement, and it's just gentle core work. Don't pull on your neck. There should be no strain on the back. Your low back stays on the mat. You're just alternating legs, alternating elbow to knee. A strong core really helps with any low back pain that you have. Working on your abs. And then just release back down to the mat. And we're just going to place our hands on our stomach, on our abs. And we're just going to gently roll up. And then exhale, release back down to the mat. Inhale, rolling up. Your low back stays on the mat, no strain on the neck. And then release back down to the mat. Gentle rolling up and release back down to the mat. And one more. And release. Hug your knees into your chest. Rock from side to side. Now you can either roll onto your side to get up to seated position, or you can roll forward and back a couple times and then just roll up and come to seated position, whatever's easier for you. We're going to come into staff pose with our feet out in front of us. Slight bending your knees, your feet are flexed. Ground down through your sit bones, lengthen your spine. Take a deep inhale, and on the exhale, just begin to walk your hands forward for forward fold. You're breathing into your low back, and then take a deep inhale, come up a little bit, and exhale, begin to forward fold. See if you can get a little bit deeper into the fold with each inhale and exhale. Trying to release the tension in that low back. And slowly walk your hands back to center. And bring your right knee in towards your body. You can keep it here or cross it over that straight leg. And just wrap your left arm around that right knee, right hand behind your right glute. Take a deep inhale, lengthen your spine, and on the exhale, twist looking over your right shoulder. Take a few deep breaths here. Then release the twist, come back to center, straighten that right leg out. Hug the left knee in towards your chest. You can keep it here, or for more of a stretch in that hip, cross it over the straight leg. Wrap your right arm around that left knee, left hand behind your left glute. Take a deep inhale, lengthen your spine, and on the exhale, twist looking over your left shoulder. Take a few deep breaths here. Then come back to center. Straighten that left leg.
We're going to bring our feet in for bound angle pose. So whatever's comfortable on your knees. If it's uncomfortable to have them closer to your body, you can have them out a little further so it's not so much stress on your knees. If you're fine with them closer to your body, that's great. So your soles of your feet are together, and just roll out the arches of your feet as if you're opening up a book. And then gently butterfly your knees out to the sides, opening up the hips. Your hands can be on your ankles or on your feet. And then bring your legs to stillness and take a deep inhale, lengthen your spine. And on the exhale, just hinge forward from your hips, keeping a long spine reaching out through the crown of your head. And when you get halfway, stop there. Engage your core, pull your belly button in. You're going to feel the stretch in the inner thighs. Make sure your sit bones are grounded. And you're just trying to really lengthen the spine here. Your shoulder blades are back. Then inhale, slowly roll up. And bring your knees in, and we're going to go onto our hands and knees. So if you need a blanket under your knees, you can put that under your knees now. And just make sure your shoulders are over your wrists and your hips are over your knees. And we're just going to go into a few rounds of cat-cow to get the fluid moving in our spine. Make sure the tops of your feet are pressing into the mat. And take a deep inhale, drop your belly, take your gaze up. And on the exhale, round your spine and tuck your chin. Inhale for cow, drop your belly, take your gaze up. And for cat, tuck your chin and round your spine. Match your breath to your movement. We'll meet back in neutral spine after your last cat. And we're just going to shift our hips towards the right. Shifting them back, shifting them towards the right, and take your gaze over your left shoulder. And then shift your hips to the left and take your gaze over your right shoulder. Come back to center. And on the inhale, extend that right foot back, going onto the ball of your foot, and just gently rock back and forth, loosening up that right calf. And then come to stillness, and we're just going to take a deep inhale and extend that left arm up towards the sky. You have a straight line from your right hand to your left, still pressing into the ball of that right foot. Then bring your left hand back down to the mat, your right knee back down. Roll out that left wrist. Then inhale, extend your left foot back, going onto the ball of your foot. And just gently rock back and forth, loosening up the calf. And then come to stillness.
Make sure you're pressing that right foot into the mat. Take a deep inhale, extend that right arm up towards the sky. Straight line from your right hand to your left. Your gaze can be straight ahead, or you can look up at your fingertips on your right hand. You're pressing through the ball of that left foot, engaging your core here. Then bring your hand back down to the mat, your knee back down, roll out that left wrist. We're going to go into child's pose and take a few deep breaths. So your big toes are overlapping and your knees are mat width apart. Shift your hips back towards your feet and slowly lower your torso down to the mat. You can place your forehead on the mat, your arms are out in front of you. And just focus on your breathing here. Take a few deep breaths. Then we'll come back up to tabletop and we're going to go into our first downward facing dog. So we're just going to flip our toes and hover our knees. Engage your core here, engage your thighs. And then slowly shift your hips back and begin to straighten your legs. You have a slight bend in your knees. And pedal out your feet. Maybe go up on your toes and see if you can sink your heels down a bit more. You're really pressing your chest towards your thighs and your hips are high. Your head is between your arms and your weight shouldn't be on your wrist. You should be, your fingertips should be pressing into the mat. Take a few deep breaths here. Then inhale, look up between your hands. On the exhale, begin to walk your feet towards your hands for forward fold. You can have a slight bend in your knees. Hold opposite elbow to opposite hand. Sway from side to side. Then release your hands and inhale, slowly come up, hands overhead. And exhale, hands heart center. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, release. We'll take a few deep breaths in Tadasana. So your palms are facing forward, shoulder blades back and down. You're really grounding down through all four corners of your feet. Feet are hip distance apart. And just bring your focus to your breath. Your eyes can be opened or closed. Then inhale, reach your arms up overhead. Engage your core. Ground down through your feet. And exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Keep a flat back as long as you can, and then forward fold. Take a few deep breaths here. And inhale, slowly come up, hands overhead. And exhale, hands heart center. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, release. Inhale, reach up, arms overhead. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. So you want to have a flat back from your low back to the crown of your head. Your hands can be on your thighs or on your calves. Whatever gives you that flat back. Your gaze is looking at the mat. It's down. Take a few deep breaths here. And then exhale, forward fold. Inhale, slowly come up, hands overhead. Exhale, hands heart center. Inhale, reach up, and exhale, release. Now come to the front of your mat, and we're going to inhale, reach up, arms overhead. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. And on the exhale, we're going to plant our hands and step that left foot back. You're going into runner's lunge, so you're on the ball of that back foot. Your front knee is stacked over your front ankle. Engage your core here and really press through that runner's lunge. Then drop your back knee, flip your back toes. You may need a blanket for your knee if you want to get a blanket and put it under there if it's uncomfortable. And then we're going to come up, bring your hands to your thigh. Your hips are pressed forward. You're not directly on that back knee, and you're pressing the top of that back foot into the mat. Then bring your arms to goalposts, take your gaze slightly up for a back bend. And engage your core and raise your arms up for low lunge. Take a few deep breaths here. Hips are forward. Make sure that knee is still over your ankle. And really reach up. Take a few deep breaths. Then bring your hands to heart center. And we're just going to place that left hand down on the mat next to that right foot. And then inhale, extend your right arm up towards the sky. Feeling the twist. Then bring that right hand back down to the mat. And we're going to flip our back toes, lift that back knee up. And you can either hop your back foot or step the back foot to meet your front foot and go into forward fold. Take a few deep breaths here. Then inhale, reach up, arms overhead. Exhale, hands heart center. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, release. We'll take a few deep breaths in Tadasana, and then we'll do the other side. Inhale, reach up, arms overhead. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. And exhale, plant your hands, step that right foot back, going into runner's lunge. Check that front knee, make sure it's over the front ankle. You're pressing through the ball of that back foot for runner's lunge. Then drop the back knee, flip the back toes, bring your hands up to the front thigh, left thigh. Pressing your hips forward, back knee is slightly back, pressing that back foot into the mat. Bring your arms to goalposts, lift in the heart, taking your gaze slightly up for a slight back bend. And then with strong arms, raise your arms up for low lunge. Take a few deep breaths here. Then bring your hands to heart center. Then place that right hand down on the mat.
And extend your left arm up towards the sky, feeling the twist. Your gaze can be forward or you can look up at your fingertips on the left hand. Take a few deep breaths and bring that left hand back down to the mat to frame your front foot. Flip your back toes, lift that back knee up, back into runner's lunge, and you can either hop that back foot or step it to forward fold. Take a few deep breaths here. And inhale, slowly come up, hands overhead. Exhale, hands heart center. Inhale, reach up, and exhale, release. We'll take a few deep breaths in Tadasana. Slow your breath down. Relax in the body. Now we're going to come to the front of the mat and just place your hands on your hips. And we're going to step our left foot back. We're going to go into high lunge. So make sure you're grounded through your feet. Just step that left foot back, pressing into the ball of that foot. Put a slight bend in that front knee. For high lunge, you want to try to get that front thigh parallel with the mat eventually. But it's a progress, so wherever you're at is fine. Your hips are forward towards the front of the mat. The wider the stance, if you want to bring that back leg out a little wider, the easier it is for you to balance. So once you're in high lunge, then bring your arms to goalposts to keep your shoulder blades back and down. Lifting up the heart, slight back bend, and then raise your arms up towards the sky. Take a few deep breaths here in high lunge. Then bring your hands to heart center, and we're going to drop that back heel down. So you want your back arch, we're going to go into warrior two, so you want the back arch in alignment with your front heel. Putting a bend in that front knee. You're going to turn your hips towards the long side of the mat for warrior two. And then when you're ready, extend your arms out. Make sure your back arm is level with your front arm. You might have to adjust your feet a little bit. Your shoulder blades are back and down. And take your gaze over your right fingertips. Take a few deep breaths here. Then straighten that front knee. Shift your hips back. Reach that right arm out in front of you, and then bring your back of your right hand to your right calf and your left arm up towards the sky for triangle. You have a straight line from your right fingertips to your left, and your hips are still facing the long side of the mat. Make sure that your shoulders are stacked over each other. You're not turning towards that right leg. And take a few deep breaths here. And that left hip is shifted back. And inhale back to warrior two, putting a bend in that front knee. Strong warrior. Gaze is over your right fingertips for warrior two. Then we're going to pivot on that back See if it's a little bit different, a little bit deeper than the first one. Hips are facing now forward. Make sure your shoulders aren't up by your ears, that they're down. Then bring your hands to heart center and step forward to Tadasana, to mountain pose. Take a few deep breaths here, and then we'll do the other side. So now we'll come to the front of the mat. Place your hands on your hips. And we're going to step back with that right foot going on to the ball of the foot for high lunge. Your hips are facing the front of the mat. You have a bend in that front knee. And just do what feels comfortable for you. Eventually you want to get that front thigh parallel with the mat. And then bring your arms to goalpost. And then raise them up towards the sky for high lunge. Take a few deep breaths here. You're pressing through the ball of that back foot. Then bring your hands to heart center and drop that back heel down so your back arch is in alignment with your front heel. Turn your hips towards the long side of the mat. Then when you're ready, extend your arms out and make sure they're level with your shoulders and the back arm is level with the front arm. And then take your gaze over your left fingertips. Shoulder blades are back and down. Core is strong. Then straighten that front knee, front leg. Shift your hips back. Reach that left arm out in front of you. And then bring the back of your left hand down to your calf or your thigh, wherever you can reach. And raise that right arm up to the sky. Make sure your shoulders are stacked over each other, as if your back is against the wall. Strong arms, you're not caving into that left side. You're going to feel the stretch in that right hip. Just take a few deep breaths here. Then inhale back to warrior two, putting a bend in that front knee. Make sure your arms are level. And take your gaze over your left fingertips for warrior two. Now we're going to pivot on that back foot. Turn your hips towards the front of the mat and come up to high lunge again. See if it's a little different, if you can move that back foot back a little more. Take a few deep breaths here. Then bring your hands to heart center and step forward to Tadasana, to mountain pose. We'll take a few deep breaths here. For our balancing pose today, we're going to go into figure four. So you want a stationary point out in front of you that you can focus on, your drishti. And then you want to make sure that your weight's evenly distributed on both feet and you're grounding through all four corners of your feet. So once you find your focal point, place your hands on your hips
And just begin to shift your weight into that left leg, putting a slight bend in that left knee. And then bring that right ankle over your left knee, opening up the right hip, and put a slight bend. When you find balance, you can bring your hands to heart center, and you can kind of play with this pose. You can bend your knee and go down as if you're sitting in a chair. This could be also called one-legged chair pose. Keeping that right hip open, or you can straighten that knee and maybe come forward down to the mat, and then put a bend in that knee, working on balance. Come back up to standing. If you fall out of it, you can come right back into it. It's working everything here, strengthening the core, your legs, your ankles, your feet. And then bring your knee up and forward and bring it down to come out of the pose. We'll shake it out. And then we'll go on to the right leg. So find your focal point. Maybe rock on your feet to make sure your weight's evenly distributed. Ground down through the soles of your feet. Then gently shift your weight into that right leg. Put a slight bend in that right knee. That'll help you to balance a bit more. Focus on that stationary point, and then just bring that left ankle over your right knee. If you fall out of it, just come right back into it. And you can bring your hands to heart center. You'll notice each side is different. And you can bend the knee and sit in a one-legged chair, or you can straighten that leg and come forward to the mat, down to the mat. It's your practice, so whatever you want to do, make it your own. And then put a bend in the knee, come back up to center, maybe sit a little further, and then straighten that standing leg, bring your knee forward and bring it down and shake it out. Now that balancing pose is to get you ready to work on eagle pose. So we're going to try eagle pose today as a balancing pose. So if you have a block or you have a book and you want assistance, just put that block on the outside of that left foot. Now find your focal point, and we're just going to put a slight bend in that left knee, and then cross your right knee over the left, and just place your toes on that block. If you can reach the mat without the block, that's fine too. If you find it hard to reach the mat, bring the mat to you and use the block. So wherever you're at is fine. If you want to just work on your legs, what your goal is to get your foot off the mat and point your toes down for eagle pose. So we'll place our toes on the mat to get our arms in place, and then you can just work on lifting that foot up. So extend your arms out in front of you, palms facing each other. Place your left arm over the right. So your right leg is over the left and your left arm is over the right. Backs of your hands are together. If this is okay with your shoulders, you can try to bring your palms together. You'll feel, if you raise them, you'll feel more tension through your scapula, through the back of your shoulders. So whatever, if you want to just work on your legs, you can do that.
and keep your hands at heart center, or you can work on your arms too, and then just work on lifting that right foot up. You can wrap it around that standing leg for eagle pose. Engage your core here, really grounding down through that standing leg. Putting a bend in the knees really helps for the balance. And release your arms, release your leg, kick out your feet a bit, shake out the legs, and then we'll put the block on the right side, outside of the right foot. Place your hands on your hips, find your drishti, ground down through your feet, and then put a slight bend in that right knee, and then cross your left over your right. Place your toes on the mat or on a block, wherever you're at, and then extend your arms out in front of you, palms facing each other, and cross your right arm over the left, and then bend at the elbows and bring the backs of the hands together. If this is comfortable, you can try to bring your palms together. And once you have your arms in place, you can work on lifting those toes and just pointing your foot down, or maybe try to wrap that leg around your standing leg. Wherever you're at, it's a process. Maybe try to lift your arms a little higher, bring them down a little lower. Lifting and lowering. And then we'll release our arms, bring your knee up and down, and shake out your legs. Now we're going to go down. We're going to take a few deep breaths in Tadasana, mountain pose, and then we're going to go down to the mat. So bring your shoulder blades back after all that shoulder blade work. Palms facing forward. And take a few deep breaths in through your nose, and completely exhale out through your nose. Deep inhale and exhale. Now we're going to take a deep inhale, reach your arms up overhead, and then bring your hands to heart center. Now you'll want to widen your stance a little bit to go into squat, but we're only going to go halfway. So we're going to take a deep inhale, reach your arms up overhead, bring your hands together, and then on the exhale, when you're bringing your hands to heart center, just begin to bend at the knees, coming down halfway. Then inhale, come up, arms overhead, straighten the legs, and exhale, pressing those hands together, going into squat. Engage your core here, and then inhale, bring your arms up overhead, straightening the legs, and exhale, squat. And see if you can go all the way down here, or just until your heels come off the mat. Slowly come down towards the mat. If you do get all the way down, you can place your elbows in the insides of your knees. You're pressing the palms of your hands together, lengthening the spine. Take a few deep breaths here. Then bring your hands down to the mat, and we're going to go into staff pose. Legs are out in front of you. Feet are flexed. Lengthen your spine. And we're just going to go into a forward fold. See if it's a little different than the beginning of practice. So take a deep inhale, lengthen your spine, and on the exhale, just begin to walk your hands forward to forward fold. So you're really keeping a long spine as long as you can. And then exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come up a little bit. And on the exhale, see if you can get a little deeper into the fold. Trying to relax that low back. And walk your hands back to center. And we're going to go onto our backs down to the mat. So gently roll down one vertebrae at a time onto the mat. And hug your knees into your chest and rock from side to side. And then place your feet flat on the mat, hip distance apart. Place your palms by your side, tuck your shoulder blades under, and just bring your right ankle over your left knee. Gently press on that right thigh, opening the right hip. And then when you're ready, interlace your fingers behind that left thigh and extend your left foot up towards the sky, keeping that right hip open. You can point and flex your feet. And then keeping your feet flexed, hug that knee in towards your chest, that left leg. And then release your hands, bring that left foot down to the mat. Extend your arms out to the sides. Take a deep inhale in. And on the exhale, just slowly roll onto that left hip, bringing that right foot down to the mat and taking your gaze over your right fingertips. Make sure you keep your shoulder blades flat on the mat and just take a few deep breaths here. Then slowly come back up to center. Bring your hands back by your side. Bring your foot back down to the mat and place your left ankle over your right knee. Gently press on that left thigh, opening up that left hip. Then when you're ready, interlace your fingers behind your right thigh and extend your right foot up towards the sky. You can point and flex your foot. And then keeping your feet flexed, see if you can bring that right leg a little closer to your body, keeping the left hip open. And then release your hands, bring the right foot back down to the mat. Extend your arms out to the sides and slowly begin to roll on to that right hip, bringing the left foot down to the mat. And take your gaze over your left hand. Take a few deep breaths here. Then slowly roll back up to center. Bring your hands back by your side. Bring your foot down to the mat. Hug your knees into your chest and rock from side to side. And then slowly extend your legs up towards the sky for legs up the ball. Your palms are flat on the mat. You can point and flex your feet. And if you have
shoulder stands in your practice. You can do it now. Just make sure that you don't turn your head. Be careful of your neck if you're going into shoulder stand. And then slowly roll back down. Hug your knees into your chest and rock from side to side. And then extend your legs out long on the mat for Shavasana. Let your feet fall out to the corners of the mat. Your arms are away from your body, palms facing up. Gently close your eyes. Relax your forehead. Relax your eyes. Remove your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Relax your shoulders, your upper arms, your forearms, all the way to the tips of your fingers. Relax your chest, your abdomen, your hips. Relax the front of your thighs, your knees, your shins. Relax your ankles, the tops of your feet, all the way to the tips of your toes. Relax the soles of your feet, the backs of your calves, the backs of your thighs. Relax your low back, mid back, and upper back. Relax the back of your shoulders, the back of your neck, all the way to the crown of your head. Continue your breath past the crown of your head, all the way past the tips of your toes. A continuous flow of air. Begin to wiggle your fingers and toes and move your head from side to side. And when you're ready, roll on to your favorite side.
With your eyes closed, come up to seated position, hands at heart center, thumbs at your sternum, slight bow to your head. Yoga is a journey. Thank you for sharing your journey with me today. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. Thank you everybody for joining in the class today. I'm sorry Butch was crying the whole time because he misses Frank. He went out. But I hope you enjoyed the class. If you have any questions, please send us a message. We'll get right back to you. And enjoy the 8th Mindful March Day. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.